It's great to be back here for the first time in a few years. This is always incredibly inspiring to be at this place, just to reflect on all that AMMF and Helen have achieved over these years. And it's an honor to talk about the ABC trials, ABC, Advanced Biliary Tract Cancer. And before I go any further, really, couldn't have done any of this without Juan, who's sitting there very modestly at the end there. I remember we met for the first time in a slightly seedy room in Riding House Street. We were much younger and perhaps slightly foolish. We're now older and foolish, and I'm going to tell you what we've done. We were young and thought we could do anything, but even then, I reckoned this was going to be a big call. It was going to be a difficult thing to do. And I hope we've done everybody justice. This is the story. So you've seen this several times already today. This is the these are the usual suspects that we're looking at here: the intrahepatics, the perihylers, and the distal cholangiocarcinomas. So those are the ones arising primarily in the body of the pancreas, outside of the liver. For practical purposes, we included gallbladder cancer in pretty much in all our studies, as they also arise from the biliary epithelium, somewhat neglected, poor cousin of the cholangiocarcinomas currently. And with the initial problem, the big starting problem that we had, and is still to some extent with us, although we heard this morning that this is not always going to be the case probably, is the fact that everybody thinks this is an uncommon cancer. Who cares? Okay, you're never going to see one. The average oncologist at the time in the UK saw about somewhere between 2 to 3 patients in their practice every year. Everybody saw a few patients, didn't know what to do with them, and consequently there was, as we heard already several times today, a complete lack of knowledge and a complete no process whatsoever. It was a mess. It was a terrible mess. The official numbers say 2.17 instance. So that's two people out of 100,000 every year get cholangiocarcinoma. It's more than that. We've seen data this morning that disputes that. And so you can pretty much ignore all the numbers I'm about to present to you that are coming up, because it is a hopeless underestimate. You can see from this, however, that it's uncommon in the Western world. The sort of dark green bits, China and Thailand, that's cholangiocarcinoma related to flukes, which is a very different beast. You'll hear about that a bit more this afternoon. And this is about advanced disease. So this is a cancer that cannot be resected, cannot be cured, and we're giving treatment to prolong life to improve symptoms. Maria dismissed it earlier in one of her first sentences. I hope I'll try and show you that there's a little bit of merit to it. These were the studies in about early 2000s when we began to look at this, and you can see a couple of things. You can't see very much, but you can see about 3 things from this. You can see that the numbers of patients involved in all of these studies, so that's the second column, is low. 58 is the very largest number. And so generally speaking, with very low numbers like that, you can't tell a great deal. The survival is also pretty poor. But also very variable. You can see that the numbers there vary from 2.5 months to 12 months, and which one are you to believe? You need to be very careful. And you can also see that the drugs that are given there vary hugely. There are about 6 different drugs there. What do you do? So I think this reasonably reflects the situation that we came across when we originally looked at this rather muddled, confused, and neglected field. Nevertheless, there were a lot of patients out there. So if you added it all up, I think we added it up once. Juan added it all up once, and it's about 600 patients in all of these little studies. And so the patients were out there, and they were going into some kind of study. And so, there should be a way of doing this properly, was what we thought. So this is where it started. So ABC1, Advanced Biliary Cancer 01, was a small study to see whether anything was of any benefit. And the huge benefit of this was that it was randomized, and consequently it had a structure and therefore was instantly much more reliable. And already with 80 patients, it was already the largest study ever out there. And we did this, and we were, one of the main issues was about the side effects, and we were very worried about side effects. We realized that a lot of our patients were going to be elderly and probably not that strong, and so side effects were a big worry, particularly the tiredness, the exhaustion that is caused by chemotherapy, particularly this cisplatin drug, and the consequent nausea and vomiting that occurs with it. And we were still worried. There was clearly more of it consequent on the cisplatin, and this could have stopped us in our tracks. This also could have stopped us in our tracks. So the rules that we had about carrying on with the study completely dependent on this number down here. I hope this works. This one here, 57. 57 was 57. 10 percentage points above 47, just about. And so this allowed us to continue with the study, expand the study to bigger numbers so that we could get a proper answer. This is a survival curve, so this is a recurrence this is progression of the cancer and time in months. And we're supposed to be able to tell a difference between those two lines. And maybe statistically there is, but there isn't a great difference between those two lines. So even at this stage, any kind of genuine success was much in the balance. Nevertheless, we were helped hugely by the accrual rate, and this reflects a lot of stuff that's been said already today. So all of a sudden, the red line, so we were told this is an uncommon cancer, you're only going to see a few patients a year. This is going to take ages and ages to run. And so we projected the red line. The red line is when we thought we'd finish. Actually, we finished earlier. We finished on the green line. And this was because, as we've heard already, cholangiocarcinoma is not as rare as everybody always thought it was. And also because of the thing called the NCRN, which is a national network of research, of NHS-based research, mostly nurses, probably between 1 to 1.5 nurses per small trust, depending on the way in which you arranged it. And that made a massive difference. That made a huge difference to us being able to recruit to ahead of time. And it was partly because we managed to recruit ahead of time that we then carried on. And we expanded the study from 80 patients to 400. And also I think we added the quality of life. So we needed to be absolutely sure that what we were doing was not rendering patients bedbound and unwell. And somewhat to our surprise, it has to be said, even at the time, all this time later, the two drugs were better than one. And this cisplatin gemcitabine combination has been the international standard for the treatment of patients with advanced biliary tract cancer since 2009 when Juan presented it. And there's some data on immunotherapy, which I think we'll see at some stage in the next couple of days. Nevertheless, this still remains the gold standard, and it put cholangiocarcinoma on the map. That's what if you go abroad and you turn up and you say you're from the UK and you work on cholangiocarcinoma, they will quote this study and say you put cholangiocarcinoma on the map. And if we manage to do that, I think that was worth doing. A few other things we managed to get out of this. Doesn't make any difference. So the ECOG is how fit you are. ECOG 0 means you're running 5 kilometers a day, something like that. ECOG 1 means you're a bit you're a bit tired. You're not quite yourself. ECOG 2 means you're resting up for quite a lot of the day. And if you're ECOG 2, you probably don't do as well as somebody who's running 5 kilometers a day. It's not a big surprise. There are a few other factors down here. This male-female thing we have yet to work out. That's we've now looked at the male-female issue and whether males do better than females, whether the treatment helps males more than females. We still don't really know the answer to that one. We're looking at it in the whole series, and that's there are many reasons why that may be the case, but that's in Project in Train. So we looked at the long-term survivors as well, and this really did work. So of the patients, and sadly there weren't too many of them, but of the 45 patients alive at 2 years, the majority of those patients had 2 drugs. So the 2 drugs was clearly better than 1. And the quality of life was maintained, and so that was very reassuring. So this is very busy, and I apologize for this, but this is what's happened since and is currently happening. And don't sort of look too hard, but basically this is ABC1 going up to 13 here, and we're now in the process of starting up number 13. The green bars are the studies that have now informed the international standard of care. So these are the studies in the UK that are now that everybody else follows in the world. And this is ABC2, which I've just described. It's ABC6, so that's chemotherapy in second line after the failure of first line treatment. That's presented by Angela Lamarca, who's actually sadly not going to be here. No, she's just moved back to Spain, equally sadly. And also the BILCAP study down here. So that's an adjuvant, so that's after surgery. So these studies, and the UK can be proud of this, these studies have established the international standard of care. What else can I comment about in general aspects? Well, these guys here, these orange ones, were a series of what are called non-targeted studies. So the first one, ABC3, was almost positive, but it was a study of this drug cediranib, which is a anti-vascular type drug with the cisgem, and that sadly didn't go anywhere, although we've had many conversations about how it should have done. ABC4 was again a very early study using the combination of the chemotherapy with selumetinib, which is a drug looking at a particular inhibitor, but that was also not targeted, so there was no, so that was just given to everybody. And cisacelarin, which ABC8, which is acelarin is a sort of second generation version of gemcitabine, and that study has been, in fact, the randomized study has been done commercially and also not going anywhere. And that, I mean, it's easy for us to say now, but that tells us that the non-targeted studies haven't really delivered. There are a number of other studies coming up here. I'll touch on one of them, ABC10, in a moment. ABC7, Maria's told you about ABC7. And ABC12 and 13 are small translational studies developed primarily from the Christie, which are about to start up quite soon. So, you know, this is thanks to our great networks, our great sort of multidisciplinary networks across the UK that we're able to do these things. So what have we learned so far? It is possible, much to our surprise, it is possible to run studies safely with the preservation of quality of life. The early phase and non-targeted studies haven't really translated that successfully. And this brings us on to the next phase. And so this is ABC plus now. This is ABC coming up, and ABC coming up sort of swings on the not so difficult cell that biliary tract cancer is special. It is special in that if you do one of these, if you do a profile, and most people get a profile these days, a genetic profile, and you look at all the genes within your cancer. So each one of these little things around the side here is a particular gene. I've highlighted this, the FGFR2, which is the sort of the star of the show. Each one of these genes is what, or quite a few of these genes is what we call targetable. It's you've got a drug. We've got drugs to work on these things. And for some reason, biliary tract cancer has more of these than any other cancer that I know. If you add up all of the ones that we have drugs for, there'll be ones that we don't have drugs for yet, but at some stage we might. If you add up all the ones that we do have drugs for, it comes up to, this is actually the one for the intrahepatic cholangiomas. If you add it up for intrahepatic cholangiomas, it's over 50%. So more than 50% of people will have a target, and you will be able to, by hook or crook, get hold of some kind of treatment to deal with that. And I don't know of any other cancer that has more than 50% of actionable alteration. So that's the next big challenge, and this is how we're going to do it. ABC 10. So ABC 10 takes a whole load of patients. You get some chemotherapy. You do that profile that I've just showed you, and then you treat depending on what that profile is. And this we're doing in collaboration with the French, who are great partners here, to be honest. And that is starting up in the autumn of this year. It's taken us about 5 years of negotiation with pharma and the academic bodies which fund this. So this has got funding from 3 different countries, academic funding from 3 different countries. And hopefully this will give us a bit more information about how good targeted therapy is for patients right up front, right up in first line. And these are the usual suspects. You can, the different drugs we're using, and you can go into those. Ask me about those later if you want. But all this targeting has stirred up a whole load of other issues that we should have known, should have seen coming, but of course didn't. And that is the emotional roller coaster of getting profiled. And Juan gave me this slide originally. I added the color scheme, which represents both patient and doctor anxiety as you go from one side to the other. But in fact, each one of these ups and downs is sort of a roller coaster. Is it possible to profile my tumor? Will an actionable alteration be found? Will the drug be found for it? Is there a drug available for it? Can I get hold of that drug? Will that drug work? So this is as tough. Well, obviously not, but it's pretty tough for the doctors as well going through this. And the other thing is it's new for most of us. It's completely new, and these are lots of new tricks for old dogs like us to learn, and it's challenging, but immensely rewarding when you get to the far right-hand side of the slide. What's the message? We can do large studies in an uncommon cancer. Sort of almost didn't believe I said that, but it's true. The future is mostly in personalized oncology. That's where the future is. And it's going to be more complicated. We need to get better at it. We have made some progress, but there's a great deal more to be done. Thanks to absolutely everybody. These are whole load of people I work with and fund me, and of course the patients and their families. Thank you very much.